Alright, what up YouTube? Aaron Sanders, aka S23, leader of Ice City and whatnot. So, let me tell you something. This is basically a series of a show and tell, if you will. And what better way to kick this series off, this hopefully series, by talking about this. Now, I'm going to give you a hint. Here's your hint, old school. Now for my friends out there, you guys know that I'm old school. And here's the background on this thing that is old school. Let me tell you something. Back in the 70s and 80s, this was what everybody was going bonkers about. I mean, if you didn't have this in your house or didn't hear about it, you know, went outside and play or do more of that stuff, you probably don't know what this means. Now for you teens out there, I'm telling you, I already gave it away. This was your Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 back then. I mean, 24/7 people would just play this and never grow tired. You know, if you play it at night, you create that ambience feel, you feel me? So, what am I talking about? Well, one thing for certain, I am not talking about a box of diapers. I would never talk about a box of diapers. I'm talking about the piece of thing that is under the box of diapers. Well, actually inside it. The Atari 2600, as you would see right here. Yep, the Atari 2600 right here. You know, back in the mid-70s, the Atari 2600 was what everybody wanted. Because it had high-quality, high-tech graphics for its day. You know, it had an assload of games that you could play non-stop. And you would never grow tired of it. Well, unless if it's 3 in the morning and you just took yourself a daily dose of NyQuil and whatnot. But let me tell you something. The Atari 2600 was great. Background information about this Atari 2600 right there. My grandmother just so happened to find this along with other games under the crawl space down in her basement, and she said that I could find out if it works or not a couple of months ago. So I tried it out on my TV, and what do you know? Minutes later, it works. It still works. It works perfectly. So, she lent it to me again, you know, so I could play with it for a couple of days. And I can't wait to play this thing, so hopefully later on in the future I'll have, you know, game reviews. Speaking of game reviews, I'm going to show you those games right now in this box of bag of diapers. Now this first game I would like to show you is a blank cartridge where you can make your games or what? No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, this cartridge is actually Frogger. Now see, for all you arcade fanatics out there, probably know that Frogger was made in 1981, I believe, by Sega. But Activision got the rights to make the arcade game into a home video game entertainment cartridge. And I tell you, first time I played this, you know, it was quite faithful to the arcade version. You know, despite a few differences, like the music, you know, and all that stuff. But believe me, it's a good game. I'm going to move on right here. The next game I would like to talk about is Defender. And you know, it's a pretty nice game and what have you. So yeah, Defender. Next game up, Asteroids, an arcade classic made by Atari, I believe, and very nice game. What more can you say? Asteroids. Your next game is Sword Quest. Now there's 3 versions to it. The first version I cannot name because I forgot it for the life of me. Next one is Waterworld. This right here is Fireworld. And shout out to my mother, who always played this every day, you know, after school when she came home. Shouts to her. Now, this next one is a racing game, but I don't know what's the name of it, so I'm gonna have to do some research later on that. But it is a racing game. I played it for an hour one time, and believe me, that's how interesting that game is. Another arcade classic, Missile Command. Yeah, That was made by Atari. Now this next game is called Mousetrap. Now this isn't the Mousetrap that was made into a board game. This is actually a Pac-Man clone. A duplicate of Pac-Man where they replaced the ghost in Pac-Man with a mouse and cats. But it's an interesting clone, I'll give it that. Now this next one I think was... This is Astral Blast, and I don't know if this was officially made by Atari or not. I might have to do a review on it. Now, as you see right here, a lot of crap right here. Now, the only way you can plug the Atari in to your TV is to use this piece of crap box right here. Now, a lot of people went on their very own way to find some substitute boxes for this, you know, for their modern TVs like the HD TV or a standard definition TV. But the old boy right here had to do it the hard way. Plugging this to the back of the TV, that's the only way I could do it. So I have to disconnect everything like my cable and what have you in order to play this. But it is worth it. Only except it takes a shitload of time to do that. Now, one more thing I would like to show you before I sign off on this review is you can't play the damn game without your joystick, dude. I mean, look at this. This was your joystick back then. You could see no memory card slots, no lights or buzzers, just a normal traditional button with your analog stick. Yeah, this what controlled you for so many years. But let me tell you, here's what I think about the Atari 2600. You know, it's a landmark game system, you know, to say the least. You know, there was other game systems that was released back when the 2600 was around, like the Odyssey 2 and some other stuff. You know, it has kind of the longest lifetime span of any other game system console, you know. 16 years of production from 1976 to 1992. So this is basically one of the best game systems that has ever showed its face upon this earth right here. Now, like I said, or did I say it, you know, its graphics back then were very nice. The sounds were amazing for its time, I may add. It reminds you of those days where you gather your friends along and enter the arcade with pocketfuls of quarters and nickels. And all you hear is this ambience of game music and your little jump man walking on the TV screen. Or you dying if you're not a game expert. But then there will be lots of lines for video games back then in the arcades in the 70s, 80s, and sometimes in the 90s. Because it was that big of a deal. So what did Atari do, you know, to avoid this feat? You know, the long lines and have to shell out a quarter of nickels and quarters. Well, there's only one solution that they did, is for you to gather all your nickels and quarters and dollars and cents and what have you, so you could wait and buy yourself this thing, the Atari 2600. So that way, the only way you'll have a lot of people standing around you while watching you play is for them to go in your room and watch you play this great contraption known as the Atari 2600. So that's enough from me. I hope you enjoyed this review. I am Aaron Sanders, S23, and this has been a review of the Atari 2600.